All right, welcome. In this explainer, we're going to get into the fundamentals of engineering economics, specifically for you, the software engineers. We'll break down how money, time, and decisions all mix together in the projects you work on.
Okay, so let's jump right in with a big question, one that pretty much every engineer has to answer at some point. You're a great coder, right? You can build incredible things, but can you justify the cost? How do you convince people that your awesome technical idea is also an awesome business idea? That's really the heart of what we're talking about today. So first up, economics for engineers. We're going to dig into why your technical decisions have a real financial impact. You know, it's the super important connection between your code and the company's bottom line. It's something people don't always think about, but honestly, it can make or break a project.
And here it is, maybe the most important takeaway of the whole thing. Every single technical decision has a financial consequence. I mean, everything. The framework you choose, the cloud provider you use, even that open source library you pull in, all of it has a cost. Sometimes it's a clear price tag, sometimes it's hidden, but it's always there.
So let's make this real. Think about these common situations. Do you spend a ton of time building something from scratch, or do you just, buy a solution that's already out there? Or what about hosting? Do you set up your own servers, or do you go with the cloud? These are exactly the kinds of choices where understanding the economics behind them is like a total game changer.
Okay, on to understanding project costs. To make these kinds of smart decisions, you've got to know the lingo. You have to understand the basic building blocks of any budget. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about fixed costs. These are pretty straightforward. They're the costs that don't change no matter what you do. Think about things like your office rent or a software license. You pay that same bill every month, right? It doesn't matter if you use the software once or 1,000 times. It's predictable.
Then you've got variable costs, and these are the complete opposite. They go up and down depending on how much you use a service. A classic example is cloud computing. If your app suddenly gets super popular, your usage goes up and so does your bill. The more you use, the more you pay.
So you can see the big difference here, right? Fixed costs are predictable. They just stay the same. Variable costs, though, they change with your usage, so they're flexible. It's all about a trade-off. Do you want the stability of knowing exactly what you'll pay, or do you want the flexibility to pay less when you're not using as much? That choice is a huge part of your project's financial strategy.
All right, next section. Opportunity versus sunk cost. These next two ideas are absolutely critical for making smarter decisions. Seriously, understanding these will help you avoid some really common traps that people fall into all the time.
So, opportunity cost. What is it? Well, it's the value of the next best thing you didn't do. For example, let's say you spend 6 months building a tool. The opportunity cost isn't just the money you spent. It's also that other project you couldn't work on during that time. It's the cost of the missed opportunity.
And then there's sunk cost. This is money or time that's already been spent, and you can't get it back. It's gone. Think about that feature you worked on for weeks that ended up getting scrapped. All that time and effort, that's a sunk cost. It's in the past.
And this leads to a super important rule. You have to ignore sunk costs when you make future decisions. It's so tempting to think, well, we've already spent so much time on this, we have to finish it. But that's a trap. The money's already gone. The only thing that matters is what you do from this point forward.
Okay, moving on to following the money. We've talked about different kinds of costs, but how does all this money move around over time? That's where we get into cash flow. So what exactly is cash flow? It's really just the movement of money. You've got money coming into your project, that's called inflow, and you've got money going out of your project, that's your outflow. It's as simple as that.
And this diagram is a perfect way to visualize it. See that big arrow pointing down at the very beginning, at year 0? That's your initial cost, a big outflow of cash. Then you see those smaller arrows pointing up in year 1 and year 2? That's your income or inflow. Cash flow diagrams just help us see how money moves over time, and usually the biggest cost is right at the start.
Okay, let's make the right choice. We're going to take everything we've just learned and apply it to a real-world example. Imagine you have to choose a learning management system, or an LMS. This is a super common decision. Okay, look at this table. It's a great way to compare our options using all the terms we just learned. Option A is to build the LMS ourselves. The fixed costs would be things like developer salaries. The variable costs? Maybe server hosting fees. Notice the initial outflow is really high because of all that development work. And what about the opportunity cost? Well, our developers can't work on anything else while they're building this. Now, look at option B, buying an LMS. The fixed cost is an annual license fee, and there might be a variable cost per user. The initial outflow is way lower, just a setup fee.
And the opportunity cost is different too. We can get started faster and have our team focus on other things. See? It's all about laying out the trade-offs.
All right, last section, apply your knowledge. The best way to really get this stuff is to practice it. So let's talk about how you can use these ideas on your own projects.
So here's a little exercise for you. First, just think about a project you're working on, maybe your capstone project. Second, try to jot down a few bullet points. What are the fixed costs, the variable costs? What's the opportunity cost? And third, find a partner and just discuss one key financial insight you had. This will really help make these concepts stick.
So I'll leave you with this one final thought to chew on. What's the most important economic decision you have to make in your next project? The cool thing is, now you have the tools to actually start answering that question.